I am giving you the best free and paid resources that I've used to self-study Russian online if you wish to have a much less overwhelming and less frustrating way to learn your languages with more confidence and know the best resources and strategies that best fit you, your energy, your ever-changing needs, and your goals. Work with me down in the comments below in one of the workshops that I host year-round online. I will also be providing A1 plus B1 study samples, online Russian courses that I can recommend for pretty much every level. LearnRussian.rt.com. Now it is completely free for complete beginners. A1 to B1 gives a great foundation with tests, lessons, converting general topics and common situations, covering general topics and common situations, grammar foundations and tables, phonetics, and the alphabet. I can also recommend Russian Pod 101. Some may disagree with me here, but I honestly found that there was a lot of nice audio and transcripts with example sentences that they had. The grammar is not as thorough the way that they present it, and it's sometimes confusing with how they introduce and teach different concepts, especially the different cases. However, I did go premium, which is the highest level that you can pay for, where you get a teacher that will correct your writing and speaking. You also get to chat with them. They are sometimes slow at responding, but usually I mainly like to have them to correct my reading and speaking. If you are not premium, you can also go a step below, where you can access everything except the writing and speaking corrections. Otherwise, if you decide to just do free only, then you get audio only. I did truly learn a lot by using this specific program to refresh after not having learned Russian in about a year. It's dynamic enough for me to not get too bored over a span of a few months. Also, I found with Russian resources, lots of the free sites that offer resources kind of overwhelm me because there is such a big mix of levels. So I genuinely found YouTube and textbooks to be the best thing for me to use alongside using something like Pod 101. For supplemental textbooks, I really recommend internetarchive.com. You can make an account and then you can borrow books for up to 14 days there. PDF Drive and Project Gutenberg are also great resources for free downloads of Russian textbooks. For paid textbooks that have really helped me, Vputi is a student handbook / workbook combination. I do recommend it for more intermediate students at minimum because this was a textbook given to me by a university student who was already enrolled in a college class in the US. This is what they were using. You have to be able to read and write Russian cursive to actually get the most out of this book. I can also recommend for more intermediate levels Russian fairy tales. Ollie Richards also has his Russian short stories out. Very affordable. I don't find the stories as engaging. Sometimes they're a little bit silly. However, he does do a really good breakdown of how to read best in foreign language, how to see whatever grammar and phrases, vocabulary that you need to learn from the lesson in order to understand the basic gist of what is going on. And he provides those for beginner, intermediate, and advanced in Russian and also in other languages. Red Kalinka is actually the book series that I would recommend anyone, and they're actually the book series where I really got an intermediate understanding of Russian cases. They make their books from A1 complete beginner up until C1-C2 advanced. And again, they do concentrate on giving you exercises to teach Russian cases. This is my most recent book that I got from them to learn and drill the Russian tables. And you can see I have already used a lot of it here, but they have really, really good exercises that go on forever, as well as explanations. They also do have textbooks that really help you understand verbs of motion, the numbers, declining the numbers, as well as other stories that are for readers of a certain level, so highly recommend them. I'm also going to put a few more textbooks on screen that were recommended to me, but I have not used yet. You can kind of try them out as a starting point to your Russian journey, and they're here. For YouTube channels, complete beginners and up. Real Russian Club's channel, more tailored to A1 complete beginners up until B1, has a free Zero to Fluency Russian course for beginners with Daria that I actually used when I first started studying Russian. Now, College Russian with Janie is actually aimed more from complete beginners A1 to B2. This is one of my favorite Russian channels online, believe it or not, because it is a non-native fluent Russian speaker with insights that native Russian teachers do not have. And she can relate a lot more to students, especially learning cases, learning all of the grammar that can get a bit overwhelming. So highly recommend her no matter what level you are at. I also love to watch Peppa Pig and or Ben and Holly's Magical Kingdom dubbed in Russian. I recommend this to A2 and up. Russian from Afar, another great YouTube channel from A1 up until B2. A Ruskom Po-Ruski is a absolutely fantastic channel for Russian grammar. A1 to C1. It is only taught in Russian with the instructor, and extremely thorough explanations are given, plus you do some exercises together always at the end of each video. Russian grammar, also very heavy grammar focused, as you can see from the title, aimed mostly from A2 to C1 levels, but it's very short and digestible when I'm trying to review something. Amazing Russian is also great. Slides are a lot more colorful, actually probably the most visually engaging YouTube channel than the others that I've mentioned previously. She gives a lot of examples. It's a little bit more digestible than A Ruskom Po-Ruski, just my opinion, but it's aimed more at a beginner to intermediate level, made by an actual professor in the USA who put her lessons online. So you basically have to just do all of her lessons that she puts in college semesters 1, 2, and 3, I believe. And then you're already done learning A1 and A2 Russian material. Boost Your Russian has a great breakdown of movie scripts. She has text on screen videos where she also reads super slow so you can really get the pronunciation down. Aimed more from beginner to intermediate, A1 to B1, B2. Russian level 1 is also great because I love having the text on screen with breakdowns on pronunciation and a slower reading speed from a native speaker. Russian with Nastya, great for vocab. I will say it is a little bit overwhelming though, since she can have a large amount of words in one video. She usually posted like every day, but I did find her guides for the A1, A2, and B1 vocabulary list extremely useful in order to judge how much vocabulary I was actually acquiring at each level and where my gaps were in vocabulary in the first place. By the way, make sure to give a like and subscribe if you are enjoying this video and are curious about a more mindful, therapeutic approach to language learning without the burnout. Another channel I really like, Easy Russian, and they also have super easy Russian segments that I recommend to complete beginners. Again, with YouTube channels, I recommend probably sticking to max 3 or 4. There are a ton out there. Only sticking to max 3 or 4 for right now can definitely help feel less overwhelming. But I will also include this list where you can pause the video and see even more beginner YouTube channels for intermediate learners and up. And this really gets into more immersion in the Russian language and material that is made from Russians for other Russians. We have Cartoon Network Russia, Art for Introvert, and Chegosheva. She actually teaches English to Russians in some of her videos, but she talks in very clear Russian. And also talks about learning languages, etc. Ruslan is a vlogger, travel, lifestyle blogger. I absolutely love Anton Pushkin's channel that has amazing travel vlogs and videos. I can also really recommend Anton Amerikanets. He is actually an American that makes material for Russian speakers, even though he is a non-native. He comes from California, and he's also really inspiring for me to keep on learning Russian. Sasha Spielberg is more of a vlogger lifestyle channel. We have the Brian Maps, which has a lot of challenges and comedy. Vdud, which has a lot of interviews of celebrities and public figures. Sci1 is, of course, all about science. Artur goes more into human psychology. Asanastra, which is more of an artist channel. GeoShow goes more into history. Mudrinich, which is a history channel, but it is simplified and uses stick figure illustrations to explain. We have a physics and math channel right here, Fizika at Pobiedinskovo. Petya, Russian Reddit reading channel. Encyklop, which has more videos around linguistics, languages, and then Kino Ogon, which of course discusses more movies. I know this is a lot, so if you wish to have a less overwhelming and less frustrating way to learn languages with confidence, join me inside one of my online workshops that I host year-round in the comments below. For podcasts, absolute beginners can really profit from Russian with Cats. I also recommend listen to Russian podcast for beginners with Anya, who is from Help My Russian School. There are transcripts and a small test at the end that are included. Raketa, which is aimed more at upper beginners. has conversations with a variety of Russian speakers. Slow Russian by Daria is a great podcast for that A1 to A2 level. Speaking Russian with Elvira is a listen and repeat podcast mainly focused on pronunciation. Learn Russian with Alonka, where in each episode there's one short dialogue, which they produce at a natural speed and then a bit slower. Russian Made Easy and Understanding Spoken Russian. For intermediate and up podcasts, we have, of course, Russian Progress, who also has a YouTube channel, but he speaks really, really clearly and also has a great interest in languages. Russian Podcast with Tatiana Klimova is a great podcast, but transcripts must be paid for. Russian with Max, probably one of the best known podcasts for Russian learners. His first episodes are more slow and very beginner friendly, so feel free to check those out if you are still A1 or A2. But most episodes go into more intermediate, advanced territory as he has grown his channel. Говорят, что is a podcast analyzing stereotypes, widely held beliefs, but very much Russian, which covers a lot of slang, jokes, and idiomatic expressions, and other things you may not learn in a traditional classroom setting. It's mainly for intermediate and up learners. There are free transcripts and translations for each episode on their website. We have Russian Verbs from Russia, which this podcast is only in Russian, of course, all about verbs. There is also a Taste of Russian podcast. We also have Zelonaya Lampa, which is a literary podcast created for children, but I really think it's dynamic to listen to because the speaker is a literature teacher and they also have a lot of sound engineers and voice actors to really make the listening a lot more fun. For even more advanced podcasts made by Russians for Russians, podtail.com. In fact, this exact link right here, because they keep a running tab on the most popular podcasts in Russia at the current moment. For music at any level, I highly recommend you pause the video and check out these singers right here. For vocab and grammar practice, I love using either Memrise or Quizlet because they also have pre-made flashcards and exercises for you already. So you can kind of browse in their library and see what's already been made, but you can also make your own flashcards, especially on Quizlet, and have audio repetitions as well for you there. Language exchanges, I always recommend HelloTalk and italki, which both have apps available for your phone. Look around at Facebook groups. Local international organizations may also have meetups or cultural presentations about different countries as well. And meetup.com is a great way to keep on looking for more language exchanges and relevant topics if you are a language learner in general, not just for Russian. For books, especially for intermediate learners and above, I did mention Ollie Richards' books before, but if you are looking for other alternatives, ebooks as well, again, I recommend to download the free Libby app, which you can read all sorts of books and get all sorts of audiobooks as well with different language lessons if you are in the USA and you have a library card. Scribed is a great resource. I think it's about $11.99 per month, but it does come with a free trial and they do have PDFs of different, more advanced books that were originally in English. For example, I found the book Atomic Habits in Russian there. I also recommend that you try FLI Busta Point is completely in Russian, libgen.li, lib.ru, and honestly, I just also recommend that you simply Google whatever the title of the book that you want, and then you add читать бесплатно, read free, or скачать бесплатно, and you'll probably find what you're looking for, honestly. Websites that I really recommend that kind of range in levels that you can start to look at are everydayrussianlanguage.com, caters mainly to A1 up until B1 learners. There's nice audio quality for each section, decent amount of reading, listening, vocab, exercises, etc. Russian for Free has a ton of grammar exercises and tables, and it has one of the most extensive explanations on grammar tables and exceptions to be aware of when you are learning the Russian cases, especially, and it does come from the same producers of the books that I mentioned in our section from Systema Kalinka. You can also go to their shop, Russian for Free, where they also have an €8 per month subscription to over 7,000 grammar exercises completely in Russian. So highly recommended for drilling grammar, any of the motion, verbs, cases, numbers, etc. You'll really find it there and get a better acquiring feeling of how to use the language more flexibly with the grammar. For an A1 study plan example, especially if we are aiming to study 2 hours a day, 1 hour finishing 2 episodes of the 0-2 Fluency Russian course with Real Russian Club, practicing writing Cyrillic during this as well. Then adding 30 minutes listening to a beginner podcast like Russian for Cats. Then another last 30 minutes watching one super easy Russian video and recording the new vocab in Quizlet from that video. A less intensive 1 hour per day study routine for an A1 learner would involve perhaps 30 minutes watching 1 to 2 videos with either Amazing Russian or Real Russian Club YouTube channels, another 15 minutes watching Peppa Pig episode montage, and then another last 15 minutes completing one lesson on learnrussian.rt.com. Again, these are just study plan examples for Russian, so if you are looking for a less overwhelming and less frustrating way to learn languages with confidence, definitely join one of my workshops that I'm hosting throughout the year. Our B1 study plan example for Russian, if you are learning about 2 hours a day, your study plan could look like 1 hour textbook studying with Puti, 15 minutes listening to 1 episode of Russian with Max, 15 minutes grammar drills for cases on RussianForFree.com, and the last 30 minutes having a conversation exchange with a tandem via Hello Talk. A less intensive 1 hour per day session, 20 minutes, 1 video lesson with Oruskum Poruski, 20 minutes grammar drills on Russian for Free with what you just learned, and 20 minutes listening to the podcast The Green Lamp for a little bit of Russian literature and culture.